We'll let the room build for a minute and we'll get it.
Everybody, can I get a home? Yeah. Can I get a home? Yeah.
What was that? The reptilians. The reptilians are here. Hey, what up, A? What up?
What's the deal?
Not much. Good to have you on stage, bro.
Right on, brother. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, what's up, Fatso? How you doing, family?
What's up, big brother? How you doing?
Doing,
Buka, what's up?
yes, sir. Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. We're gonna get it popping in a minute, man. We're just trying to give it a little bit more time for some more brothers and sisters to come on stage. Definitely want to hear from y'all. So we're gonna get to y'all here in just a minute. Just bear with us.
All right.
Like my brother Mount Zion trying to or Mount Judah coming up. Let me
We have
see.
just obtained
Mount
multiple
Judah.
leaked documents.
Try to bring him up. He gonna answer the call here in a minute.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Dion?
Hey, what's going on, bro? How you
Nola,
doing?
no,
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. Making my way into captivity. I'm good, though.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, what's up, Nola? Nola Matt, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, Dion?
Everything good, man. Everything good. All praises. All praises. Yeah, man. We got Fatso on the stage. We got Mount. We got Nola. We actually can get started here in about a minute. I get one more minute, and then we're gonna pop it off, man. Get this thing popping. I think A came on first, and then Fatso. So we're gonna start off with A. See what his perspective is on how did America get rich. We're gonna jump into that here in just a second. So give us one more minute, and then we're gonna get it popping. Nola, I'm gonna pass it over to you. All right, Nola, I think we're ready to get it popping, fam. We starting out with A.
All
Yeah. Of course. Free slave labor.
Okay, okay. When we look at the free slave labor, what else can we say about that? What slaves gave their labor for free? Was it everybody? Because I mean, not too long ago, we heard somebody say that some white folks was slaves and they worked for free too. So did they get their riches from the backs of white people?
No, I've heard people say they pick cotton too. White folks say they pick cotton too, but they probably got paid. I've never heard of free slave labor by white folks. It was just brothers and sisters.
Right. It's just the white folks that was picking cotton, that was called sharecropping. They was former slave owners that had to now pick.
I think you got cut off, D.
Yeah, I don't know. It must have cut out on me, gentlemen.
Yeah, what he was basically saying was those were sharecroppers. Those white folks. They was paid to do the things that they was doing. Meanwhile, our people, like the scriptures say. Hey, matter of fact, did you know that that was actually in the Bible, brother? Hey,
I must have a poor connection.
can you hear me?
Yeah, can you repeat yourself? I think I had lost you.
I said, did you know that what you said? That free slave labor. Did you know that that was in the Bible?
Uh, no, I haven't. I've seen it, more so with like on the Egyptian side, not necessarily in the Americas. Of course, Moses, freed the slaves from bondage in Egypt, type of thing.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that did happen in Egypt, but that same slavery that happened over here as well. It was prophesied to happen exactly. Go to Jeremiah 22:13.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 22, verse 13. Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work.
So that goes to show you that one of the things that we did was we worked for free. They didn't give us nothing for our work, you know. But how else? How else? How else? Let me see. Fatso. How else did America get rich? A already says slave labor. How else did America get rich?
By experimenting on black folks and taking everything.
Okay, what you mean by
Dang.
experimenting on black folk? Go ahead, clarify that. What would that?
Man, like America is nothing but a big ass project, man. An experiment for them crackers to experiment on us. Everything they do, everything that shit already been written, bro. Like I be listening to y'all, that shit is already written in the book, and these crackers is doing it to us and getting rich off of.
So, what you speaking of, like stuff like the Tuskegee experiment, stuff like that?
I think that all lot falls into.
Okay, so we got medical experiments, free slave labor. Those is actually some good things to build on. Mount, you want to touch on any of that?
Hey, don't forget about religion.
Hey, that's one of the biggest ones. Hey, Dion, what they gross every year with just the black church alone?
I think 420 billion over the last 20 years.
Damn.
420 billion divided by 20 years, and you could do the math. These pastors is making hundreds of millions of dollars every single year combined. And we ain't got nothing to show for it in the black community. Nothing.
That's why in a lot of these neighborhoods, man, you see these churches on every corner in our neighborhoods, and what you just pay attention. What you see around the churches, you see nothing but destruction, man. So they just sucking up the money. So yeah, you got to put religion in there.
Yeah, every church around my hood, bro, it's always an empty lot next to that bitch. Every church.
Hey, and then what the church do? You got to think about this. The church keep our people in a certain mindset. Come as you are. You can dress how you want to dress, eat what you want to eat. So the pastor been telling our people, everything God made is good. You can eat whatever you want to eat. Then our grandmama's dying. Our grandfather's dying from high blood pressure and heart disease, all these different illnesses, and the pastor ain't got no solution. So he keep the American system.
Yeah, that's true. Cause you know, one of the things that Christianity does as a whole is they continue to perpetuate the same thing that Willie Lynch did. You know, they put the woman in front and they put the man in the back. So that's why a lot of these churches are ran by women. So the come as you are doctrine, that doesn't really do anything for a man. You know, that more so affects women. When they start talking about the Holy Spirit and the tithes and offerings, they don't a man, you know, men tend to think, oh, I got to pay my tithes in order for me to get a blessing. Sisters, they pay their tithes so they can get the world, everything. They want the husband, the car, the house, the provider, everything. And all they got to do is pay their little 10% in they Sunday best, and they just went to the club Saturday night, and everything gonna be all right.
Hey, another way America get rich too, and Fatso and I would like to hear y'all's opinion on this. America fabricates war. It fabricates war and it creates war amongst other nations.
Oh yeah, they the
So
biggest thieves. They thieves, and that was another thing I did want to. That war.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I guess when we got colonized from, what was it, Europe or England, whoever colonized us, and then we went to civil war and became a country of ourselves. And then the Indian Wars taking the land. So, of course, they took all the land from the Indians and started finding gold and oil and stuff like that, too. Besides cotton, it was other things like gold and oil they got rich by, too.
yep, tobacco, rubber, in the Congo, all these various different places. They trade with these other nations. I think they just built a huge gas pipe. That's what they've been doing in Afghanistan and Turkestan and Pakistan over these last 20 years. We've been thinking they've been over there to, to war for us, to protect us here in America. Meanwhile, they building gas pipelines in these people's country and killing the natives of the land and changing their culture. I mean, if you lived in Afghanistan, you'd be angry too.
Yeah,
You know?
they're doing it right here. I think it was like in Dakota, maybe somewhere North Dakota, where they moved the Indians, the Native American Indians, off their land and were building something through there right here,
The
right here in
Keystone
America.
Pipeline. It's called the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah,
That's when
yeah.
Donald Trump
I think
first
it's
came
in
into power.
Dakota, right? In Dakota.
Yep.
Or
Yep, that's it. That's it. Also, not when you mention Afghanistan, Dion, a lot of people don't know, but prior to 2001, Afghanistan was responsible for less than 10% of the world's heroin. Now today, Afghanistan is responsible for more than 90% of the world's heroin.
Hey, you hit that shit on the head.
Yeah, man. So it's corruption, it's war, it's evil, it's all these things rolled up into one, and this place is flourishing off of it. These tax dollars that we paying, and all this money is going into keeping this system afloat and the destruction of people. If I could, give me Micah 2 verse 1 real quick. I'm gonna show you that the Bible talk about that too, brothers. Brother A, Brother Fatso. The Bible talk about these same things as it pertains to this place. You just got to know where to go and have it taught to you the correct way. Watch this. Micah 2.
Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity, and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand.
So what the leaders of this place do, they go off into these various different think tanks, and they come together at these seminars and these tumults, and they sit around and they ponder on how to oppress nations, right? How to take from these various different nations, and even oppress their own inhabitants, which would be of course us. And like you said earlier, about the Keystone Pipeline that they created in North Dakota, moved our brothers, the Native American Indians, the Gadites, according to the Bible, off of their land, and basically created that pipeline. Same thing they're doing in Afghanistan today. So this is what they do. They think about these things, these sins, and then in the morning, when they wake up the next morning, they put it into play. They make moves behind closed doors to make these things happen. Watch this. Keep reading.
And they covet fields, and take them by violence, and houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
So, they go what you were saying about how they was moving the Native Americans off of their land so they can create headway for that Keystone Pipeline. The same exact thing, right? Same thing they're doing over in Afghanistan. The same thing they did to so-called Hispanics. Same thing they did to the Native Indians here. Same thing they do in Africa. It's all over the world. And all this comes back to one thing: power and money. All of it.
Hey, all praises. Yep, you are definitely right. We got Andre on stage. Andre, the question of the room: how did America get rich? We already had Brother A say free slave labor. Fatso said, medical apartheid. Basically, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm gonna go along with Fatso with these doctors and things like that. We know about Tuskegee, the experiment with the men, but with the women, how they was, taking our women and operating on them and wasn't even using no anesthesia. They say the black woman didn't need none, and then just ripping her apart, just testing everything on the inside of her to find out what's going on. But let me say this before I finish though. Brother Dion, I want to thank you, brother, because I came in this thing with you, man, years ago. And I think you and your brothers went to the church seminar and was talking to them people. And I think you did a little bit on this, man, about how Mississippi became like the number one state that made America like the fourth largest economy in the world. Bro, let me say this, man. Whenever you come out with some facts, because I've been following you for years, I go back and I check it. Bro, you never been wrong. You know what you're talking about, and I appreciate that because I've been in some places, man, where these dudes like freshly shaven, trying to preach the word of God. I'm like, come on, man. This you guys, I love y'all. I'm on here every night. I just wanted to come in and say that, man. But like Fatso said with the medical, how they was treating our women, no anesthesia and just cutting them open, talking about the black woman don't need that.
Hey, Andre, you on point about that. That's James Marion Sims. That was his name. I forgot the young woman that he experimented on. I read it one time. He basically did 16 different surgeries on that young black girl. I think she was 17 years old. From the time she was 17 to the time she was 18, he did 16 different surgeries on her. And they call him the father of gynecology. So when the black woman goes to the gynecologist,
he killed mad babies also. A lot of black children also. He nailed things in the back of their skulls, and he killed them as well. Don't leave that out either.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Evil white bastard. I just tell you straight to your face. Those of you who are here with coons and niggas, I just tell you straight. Marion Sims is an evil white bastard, and he killed hundreds upon hundreds of babies. He would nail things in the back of their skull because he believed, as is believed today, that black people are very, very less what's the word, susceptible to pain, and he killed a lot of black babies, black women. He tore them apart. They were not. They were experimented on without anesthesia. because we were deemed as animals. So, F word him, and all praise to the Lord that he's dead. I hope he died a violent death as well. That would have, as I said, man.
Bring it
No,
out.
that's all I had, brothers. I'm gonna mute my mic. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate you, Andre. Great contribution, man. Who we got next? I think Terry was next.
Yes, sir. Terry. So the question of the room is, how did America get rich? All right, we had brother A. He gave us his perspective. Andre agreed with Fatso about the medical experimentation. We just heard a little bit about that. So what do you think? How did America?
It was definitely slave labor. Slave labor combined with free labor up north that competed with slave labor, which was honestly just as racist as the slave labor institution. So I would definitely say slave labor. I do have a quick question on the slave labor. It's a known fact that Native Americans were involved in the slave labor, or in the slave trade. They owned slaves, they slated trade slaves, Indian and African. How do you reconcile that fact with them being brothers of your movement?
Okay, so why were, and it wasn't all Native Americans, why were some Native Americans put in a position to be over black people as slaves? And were they worked just as hard as white people work slaves?
Well, I'm gonna go with yeah, because they tried to assimilate into white. The Cherokee, honestly, all the 5 nations, but the Cherokee was one of them. Tried to assimilate into white society, and so they emulated the slave culture. So they grew cotton. They worked black slaves just as hard as the white people did. There was no difference, and they already had slavery established before white people came here. So the original slaves really were Native Americans that other Native Americans sold to the white men.
All right, I got to correct you on a couple of things. They did not voluntarily assimilate. What happened to the Native Americans was the first school to prison pipeline. White folks actually had a saying in those reform schools that they sent them to. It was called "Kill the Indian, Save the Man." And over a course of time, they tried to make those same Native Americans who they forced to have white names and forced to dress white and forget their history. They tried to force them to have slaves to the point of death. So it was either, hey, be over these slaves, or I'm going to kill you. So a lot of times they didn't have a choice in the matter. And when they did have those slaves that were on the plantations, they were not worked how white people worked them. In fact, some of them even integrated into their families, and a lot of those Native American so-called slave owners were put to death because of that.
Yeah, they married their daughters to many of the tribe of Judah. You had the Reubenites, which are the Seminole Indians. You had the tribe of Gad, like you mentioned, the 5 nations, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, and so on and so forth. Creek, and they actually married many of the quote unquote so-called African slaves, which was from the tribe of Judah. They married them into their tribe. So like he was just saying, they were forced. Go ahead, E. I think E.
Yeah, not to mention a lot of Native Americans who passed for Negroes, being that they were actually Negroes themselves, were removed from their land. The ones who passed as Negroes were reclassified as Negroes. So a lot of Negroes that you think in the hood and the streets out here in the hood, whether it be DC, Cali, New York, whatever you think are Negroes are Native Americans as well. The ones who passed as contrary to Negro, who had more different features, they were put on reservations. The ones who passed more or had more Negro-like features were reclassified as Negroes. So when it comes to Native Americans being slave owners, the ones who are made as slave owners, the full-bloods hated them. A lot of the slave owners of Native Americans were, in fact, children of white folks. A lot of the Native Americans had the ones who had white fathers, which were the minority. I call them Spaniard natives. The Spaniard natives, they owned slaves, and they were the ones who were involved in the enslavement. Not to mention that Native Americans are the first ones to be enslaved and institutionalized in areas and schools such as the Carlisle Institute, as well as Hampton University. These were Native American / Negro schools in which blacks and Native Americans were being educated to be whitenized or Europeanized in their education, to hate and to uphold white supremacy, and to be agriculturalists, agricultural laborers. So a lot of Native Americans, the 5 civilized nations you're referring to, Terry, were slave-minded or were enslaved mentally first, and were introduced to Negroes to be enslaved. The reason why Native Americans had slaves is because of the fact that they were told one thing: either you were to have slaves on your land to work it, or you were to lose your land entirely if you were to contest it. So that's the reason why Native Americans had slaves in their land, or were forced to be slave, or were to pose or to play the slave master role. The ones who played the slave master role sincerely were in actuality white folks themselves, because white folks who had Native American women, they put their children or their white bastardized Native American children up as slave masters, to pose as slave masters to rule over the slaves and Native Americans who were pure-blooded in the lands. So Native Americans were not, in fact, involved in the slave trade. The ones who were slave-minded or were coonized, as Negroes are today, they're the ones, in fact, who were forced to enact these rules and regulations as Negroes to be on their land as slaves. That answers the questions.
Hi, this is Robert. Thanks, Dion, for letting me talk. I think slavery's been around like since before biblical times. Unfortunately, though, in America, because many African Americans were brought over, and slavery was in Africa even before it came to America. But the difference, I think, in America, though, is that if you're African American, just by the sheer part of your skin color, you're always identified as somewhat of a slave. Even if you're a freed black man from North America, you're always not equal to the white man. And part of that is, that's what kept the society down. I mean, I was shocked even today in where I live in Austin, the disparity between the black population, colored population, the white population. That the highway distinguishes the population, and the way America got rich, or where African Americans did not get rich, is they didn't give the African American areas services, good schools, clean water, and the thing. Sorry, go on.
I'm sorry to cut you off. What are you in terms of ethnicity? Where are you from? Where are you from? You said Austin. You're from Austin, Texas. What's your ethnicity?
I'm Vietnamese, Chinese. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In terms of what you just said earlier, I don't cut you off. I'm sorry. No disrespect. In terms of Negroes and Native Americans, together were enslaved and were reclassified ethnically in terms of ethnicity wise, in terms of and they were both enslaved. Negroes and Native Americans were heavily indoctrinated and were divided. If you watch a movie called 12 Years a Slave, which is a movie based upon the slave narrative by Solomon Northup, there's a scene. It's very, very short, but it's very, very important. The Native Americans and Negroes, they were in fact enslaved. As well, since you're Vietnamese and Chinese, a lot of Negroes, especially referred to as Kunlans, they were shipped over to China as well as Philippines. The place called Mogadishu, not Mogadishu. Guangzhou. A lot of Negroes who were referred to as Kunlans were placed as slaves under the Chinese, under the Ming, Song, and Tang dynasty. and the Black Samurai Yosuke, the first Black Samurai in Japan, he came from Mogadishu. He was shipped over there. A lot of Negroes were
You're
brought to
right.
China, and a lot of
I know.
Nigerians and people of Africa were placed in areas where Bruce Lee was born, Gwangju province. They were placed there. Negroes were also recently being beaten and evicted from their homes in the province of Gwangju, a port city, of our people who are allowed to stay in a certain province, coincidentally, in Gwangju, the same place where Negroes are shipped over and brought over as slaves in the
But
Gwangju province from which you descend from, the land from which you descend from. Negroes were persecuted there, not only in the past, but also in the present. Our people who resided in that province were enslaved and mistreated today as they were hundreds of years ago. So, you're definitely speaking some truth. Well, reason being, I want to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Don't be a bitch. Your thought.
Yeah, I
Um,
wanted to touch on what Rob was just saying about the
yeah,
area that had like that redlining, what they were doing. If someone could speak about that redlining, how they, because that's what Rob was trying to say about how they were putting us in different sections where they were redlining us and keeping us from good schools and having the best properties and stuff.
Rob,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off. Hey, thank you. Rob, go ahead, continue. When I have the time, I'll interject. Go ahead.
Go ahead, finish your point, Rob.
Yep, go ahead.
Let me see if I remember.
I'm sorry.
I think that when you were talking about American Indians, yes, American Indians are definitely treated wrong. I mean, they were fed cocaine to dig in the mines, to dig gold, it's just to keep them going. And, they were malnourished. But I think the difference, though, is that back to pigmentation. American Indians can marry, half Indian, half Caucasian. They look more Caucasian. But the thing is, African American genes are just very strong, and even when you're down to a quarter, they still identify you as African American, just like Barack Obama said. Even though he's half, when he goes try to get a taxi, they're not going to pick him up because they think he's African American. That person, so that's why, just African Americans just had a raw deal for the longest time, and they haven't shared in the benefits of the American society for the longest time. So that's about.
Well,
Hey,
Rob, why do you think that is? Why do you think that Black Americans or blacks people? Well, I mean, I'm not looking at your picture now. I'm seeing yourself. I mean, what's your nationality again? You're Vietnamese and what again?
Vietnamese and Chinese, but I mean, I grew up in a lot of different countries because my dad is works in oil, but my stepdad's white. I mean, I see, I see different perspectives, but I can never, of course, be identified with issues that involve African Americans. But just my experience around it and everything. I mean, I can see that, it's like stark as day. I mean, you would think that racism is not as a big an issue, but it's right there in the latest census, right in front of your eyes, where all the African Americans are and where white people are. And then this gentrifying issue in Austin, at least, many African Americans have, used to be like the projects there and housing and things like that, but now that area has become gentrified, and I think a lot of African Americans have lost some of the boom,
Well,
of the property prices.
well,
Sorry,
Rob, I'll tell you. Being that I'm not sure how old you are, but I know there was a video I saw of not Malcolm X, Cassius Clay, who became Muhammad Ali. He spoke about the how the white folks were trying to enforce him to encourage the draft of Black Americans being forced to fight the Vietnamese War in Vietnam. My uncle, he was involved in that. He was a medic involved in that war. And Muhammad Ali was heavily opposed to that battle. And he said, why should I fight against the blacks that live in Vietnam when the blacks here in America are being oppressed even more severe?
Sorry, sir. I think he was saying, why am I fighting against these Vietnamese? They didn't do anything to me, you know?
Right.
Well,
No. Right. I'm saying he was saying the Vietnamese. I'm looking at your picture now. You're almost damn it. You're about 2 shades lighter than myself. So what I'm saying is that I'm already understood that at the end of the day, the children of Israel, a lot of black folks who were involved in the Vietnamese War, my uncle included, we made a lot of children in that land. Israel, I mean, the whole topic is how did America get rich? And when you examine America's wealth came from the slave labor of indigenous as well as imported slaves who were brought to this side of the world. The Native Americans who were imported to this side of the world, as well as the Negroes who were brought over here by force, were in fact the same people, despite their physiological differences or features or cultures. They were the same exact people historically, and the Europeans knew this. And what I'm trying to convey is that any race of people who are contrary to European or Eurocentric features are an enemy to that people. And they've enslaved and conquered and indoctrinated that race. So this pretty much this room is pretty much an emphasis upon the powers that be and how they gain their wealth and riches, enslaving those people. If I may, give me Micah 2:1. Did I put that before? Micah 2:1. Biblically speaking.
are you talking to me?
No. The reader. Buka.
Yes, sir. The book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds.
Now, hold on. Now, iniquity means sin. The word sin means transgression of God's laws. Go ahead.
When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand.
So,
and they covet.
This nation has power in their hand to enact these things that we're reading about. We don't.
And they covet fields and take them by violence.
They covet fields or lands and take them by violence. Go ahead.
And houses and take them away.
We all know full well America was not taken by peace. America was taken by violence. Violence. They put smallpox blankets on the Native Americans. If they didn't put viruses upon the people, they came here and attacked them, murdered them by the sword. Not by the sword, by the disease. Go ahead.
So they oppress a man and his house.
They
oppress
a man, being a man's nationality, and his home, his people, and his house. Go ahead.
Even a man and his heritage.
A man and his heritage means a nation and his land, and the things that are associated with his heritage, meaning his culture, his nationality, his land, all the above. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
So now you may ask yourself, when you examine America was a land that was stolen. Okay, it was stolen, it was robbed, and taken. It wasn't negotiated, it wasn't a vote. It was robbed and stolen. So the Native Americans, believe it or not, I myself and brothers who I'm associated with, we have had conversations with Native American chiefs. And we visited powwows. A lot of Native Americans, oftentimes annually, they have powwows, and we said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna have a conversation with you, Native Americans." The God said to us, "What's the point? What's the purpose of you coming here? Go to the ghettos and slums, and you'll find Native Americans living amongst y'all. A lot of these Negroes who think that they're Negro, they're Native American." Okay, so and a lot of the so-called Native Americans who passed for Negro were reclassified as Negroes and were lost rights to their land. Okay, so How did America get rich? It got rich by stealing and coveting a land that did not pertain to them. Go ahead, Dion, Nola. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're still on reservations to this day.
Yep, they still are.
Can I?
Yes, they are. Has anybody ever been on a reservation or seen what it's like to be on a
Yes,
reservation?
yes, sir.
Can you describe what it is?
Ran down shab houses like old Western country in 2021. I've been to the Torres Martinez Reservation in Coachella in California, where I'm from in Southern California, and they're just ousted. It's worse than being black to be a Native American down there. They have a harder time than being a brother. It's just terrible. They're all alcoholics. It's against the law to let them drink almost.
They're on a cycle of dependence. That's what.
Yeah, they're alcoholics, they're meth heads, they're suicidal. The rates of suicide and drug addiction in the reservations is very, very high. And matter of fact, those of y'all in the room, the highest police brutality is Native American first and Negro second. That's a highly classified and unknown fact that Native Americans are in fact more susceptible to police brutality than Negroes. Native Americans are number one, Negroes are number two, and Hispanics are number three in terms of police brutality. And the reason why that is because Native Americans and Negroes are in fact the very same people. When my organization attended the Black that's bullshit. Excuse my language. When the Million Man March, that was about 3 years ago. They had Native Americans, Negroes, Native Americans that were Hispanics that attended that meeting. The Native Americans who were there, they even themselves said out their own mouth that the main culprits, not culprits, but the main victims behind police brutality is Native Americans number one, blacks number two, and the Hispanics number three. We're all the same people, but so I just something to point out.
Can I bring up something? I want to get back on the topic of how did America get rich?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. From what I've read, so America really got rich after World War II because it was only industrialized nation that was still intact because Europe destroyed, was fighting against each other, and Asia was pretty much beat up when the Chinese and Japanese fought against each other. So we had all these factories, and everybody still wanted manufactured goods. So we had a lead start on them from the 50s and 60s. That's supposedly the greatest generation. My question and my thought actually is, why did African Americans not benefit like the rest of the nation? Why did we become the number one nation, the dollar being the dominant currency in the world? Because before that, Britain was the number one nation, and then we did after World War II. But African Americans never benefited from that.
Well, the reason is because the reason they say that is I'm pretty sure you've heard of a term called manifest destiny, correct?
Yes.
So manifest destiny was their ammunition as to why they treated up like this, why they said what they said about black people, and that imagery has never changed. So the reason why black people have never benefited is simply because we were never meant to benefit off of this place. We were meant to come over here as slaves, and that's what we remained as. But we were never meant to benefit, which is why right now the so-called Jewish people, they get reparations. A lot of different countries that were wronged in the past, they got reparations. Black people don't get reparations for anything that they've done. And matter of fact, the Afghans that are coming over here, each family is getting $2,270 something from the government, when black people can't even get good housing, something that can cost a whole lot less, but other people from outside of this country can come here and just do whatever they want. And that's actually written in the scriptures. Give me Deuteronomy 28.
I hear you on that. I think that
One second, Rob. We're going to read a scripture to actually back this up because this is biblical smoke. So we're going to actually read a scripture to back up what I just said.
Verse.
I believe it's either 29 or 30.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
So it said we're going to grope, meaning we're trying to find our way. Black people have been trying to find their way for centuries, especially in this land. Now, America was absolutely rich way before World War II. They funded a lot of the world's economy through the slave trade since the 1600s. When you look at places like the United Fruit Company, when you look at when white people first came over here, the ability to catch so many fish was mind-blowing to them that they were shipping fish from America back to Europe by the boatloads. So they were making money hand over fist, meanwhile killing the inhabitants of the land over here. So they were absolutely rich beyond any other nation, especially for them being such a young country. But when you look at it, black people were never meant to prosper here. This is our punishment. In all actuality, we were put over here as a punishment, and that's why the scripture says we're not going to prosper, and we're only going to be oppressed and spoiled evermore. The reason why we're not going to prosper, the reason why we're not going to do those things, is because over the course of these few hundred years that we've been here, we've lost touch with our own history. That's why we go after every other God except our own. We go after every other piece of history except our own. We go after every religion except our own. And now we have no idea who we are or what we're supposed to do. So until we actually start to acknowledge that fact, that's when God will actually start to take care of us, because he's not going to come back and offer salvation to women who dress very prostitute-ish and twerk on social media 24/7. They twerk on ambulances. They twerk inside of restaurants and dining establishments. Brothers are dealing drugs left and right. The good men that are actually holding jobs and taking care of their business, they're put on the back burner in the media, and the image of black people, men and women, is so decrepit in this country that we can't prosper, because who wants to give those types of people a chance? Who wants to give those types of people an opportunity? That's why we have to, as a people, change ourselves. It's not going to happen. Nobody, this country especially, is not going to let it happen.
Yeah, it goes back to fatherless sons.
True, but who made the fatherless sons? Where did that start from?
The white folks started that stuff with welfare and keeping the fathers out of the house.
Exactly. and guess what? They still become rich off of that, because the black man still has to work. He's not in the house. So black man is still paying taxes. He's still working. He's still paying into the system, who in return is paying money out subsidized for housing and food for black women that don't have men.
Can I sorry.
But still, and I don't mean to contradict nothing no one says. I'm very far from intelligent, biblically speaking, but man's supposed to know right from wrong to raise his kids, and not. Can't nobody tell you not to raise your children.
Hold on, Rob. Hold on. You are absolutely right, A. But when you have situations in this country where the woman has been given all of the power, all she has to do is tell police, hey, he threatened me, or I feel threatened by his presence. There's countless videos on social media right now where black men are trying to see their children, and the mothers of these children who have sole custody are mistreating these men and using their children as weapons. So of course, 80 to 85% of black men take care of their children, whether in the house or out the house. So it's not the idea that black men don't take care of their children. It's the fundamental idea that marriage is not honored in our community, which therefore pits black women against black men. And that has been since the dawn of slavery. When you read the Willie Lynch letter, they took the strongest, biggest slave, beat him to half to death, and then once he actually survived that, what could the woman say? Oh my God, this big, strong black man that I looked up to my entire life, he just got damn near beat to death, and he couldn't do nothing to save himself, so how is he going to save me? Which is in turn makes the women raise their young daughters to be strong and independent and raise their young men to be weak and docile and say, hey, whatever they say, just do what they say, just follow what they say, don't put up no fight, don't offer no fuss, keep your head down, just do your work. That's been a cycle that's been perpetuated.
I
Noah too, you gotta think about it, just going back to the topic, how they got rich. You know, that whole cycle of making marriages not honorable, pushing that through the media. Now you got our brothers and sisters in the court system, paying each party paying lawyers anywhere from $35,000 to $6,000. You know what I'm saying, for custody rights for a man just to have visitation of the child. You understand? All these things were perpetrated on us. You know what I'm saying, through slavery. And this is why, you know, when you read the scriptures, it tells us that these people have a perpetual hatred towards us, you know, that won't stop. So when you made the statement earlier, you know, how come black folks are not benefiting, you know, off of this American dream? You got to understand, like it was stated, we weren't a part of this. You know, in the Constitution, we still 3/5 of a man. You understand? So this right here, us in America, this is not our land, this is not our rest. We were brought here so we can understand that, guess what, we must come back to who we are, to our identity, in order to start prospering. You know what I'm saying? And it's not, that prosperity is not coming in America. I guarantee you that.
all of you guys have a lot of truth. I respect that. I want to kind of talk about what y'all just said. You know, when you see movies like 12 Years a Slave, I think you gotta picture yourself back in those times. You gotta remember there was a white landowner, and he would go in these shacks that African American slaves would live, and they would, you know, they supposedly have these husband-wife relationship, but they're not really, because they're property. The owner, the white man, will go in there and have sexually assault the woman, or emasculate the husband and destroy the family, or sell the family like cattle. So how could you expect generations of social destruction like that people of that you know, African Americans could come out of that with a social system that was a good family structure? Actually, when the African Americans that came from Africa actually had very strong family values, but it was over generations of slavery that it got messed up, and we're suffering it today, as you all have talked about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I want to get to Jaron. Matter of fact, Jaron, the topic of the room is, how did America get rich? We've had several points brought out. One was free slave labor. Another one was the medical apartheid. Another one was warmongering. You know, they go into other countries and steal their wealth. What do you say, Jaron?
I want to say right now, what I'm noticing is, like, you know, the pharmaceutical companies, you know, selling all their drugs and, like, presenting it as, like, the best health methods, but, you know, overall just profiting off of, you know, the money and what they're getting from it. I can't remember the exact statistics, but I forget, one drugs was just there was at least a billion prescriptions for
I can't remember the exact drug, but one of the, one of those pharmaceutical drugs.
Fentanyl.
What was that?
Fentanyl.
Yeah, I believe that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they and those
one more time,
drugs
what
are
was
like
the name of it?
Fentanyl with an F. Fentanyl.
Oh yeah, fentanyl. Yeah, synthetic heroin. Yeah.
So yeah, they're presenting these these drugs as that we need them to be healthy, but they're actually like bad for our health, and overall it's just like a cycle of them profiting from that those drugs.
Hey, you're absolutely right. That's why it's called the Food and Drug Administration. The food is defiled and makes you need the drugs, and the drugs make you go back to whatever lifestyle you were living, which was bad eating, which makes you eat more food, which makes you go get more drugs. That's why Black people have a history of high blood pressure, heart disease, and all of these things. Why? Because we have what's called soul food. And white people sell us that soul food, and they sold us that imagery of soul food because, we got the scraps of what was left in slavery, and we just kept that tradition going all the way up until now. And that's why we're overweight. That's why we have gout and high blood pressure. We have poor health. We have poor circulation. Our teeth are not right. Our eyesight fades very quickly. We're health wise, we're messed up. But go to Deuteronomy 28 and 61 to actually show Jaron that what you said is actually biblical as well.
Yo, that's not specific to Black people, no. That's to America as a people, like overweight.
Black people
Or
are
eating
the number
habits.
one. Black people are number one in heart disease. Black people are number one in obesity. Black people are number one in high blood pressure. Number one in diabetes. You can look the stats up if you want, but black
people are predisposed to it. But not, I'm saying not specific to Black people though.
Well, I like how the argument is introduced where it makes it universal. Like not only are Black folks affected by it, but other nations as well. I'm inclined to agree. I didn't see who was speaking, but I'm inclined to agree with that. But Nola, go ahead, because once you introduce that argument, I'll come behind you. Go ahead.
Oh yes.
Go
ahead.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 61. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
So the sicknesses, and we realize that, other people do get sick, but not at the rate that Black people do. And to say that we are the greatest people, we shouldn't even be getting sick like that. We should be the most healthy people. We should be the model citizens of what it's like to eat right and take care of your body. But instead, we are the model citizens of eating defiled crabs and catfish. And we eat pork by the boatload. We overindulge in sweets, candy. Everybody wants to be the biggest, buffest, fattest person that they can be, and yet a lot of our women, they get old by themselves. Why? Because the men die off, and most of them die of heart disease. Go ahead.
Stress is a big killer too, man. Y'all don't leave out stress.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, definitely. If I may, since we're going to, I know our people tend to have the propensity to include other nations, not to fault them, but based upon Christianity and indoctrination and democracy and politics, our people have gained the propensity to try to include other nations in the detriment of Black folks. Our people are in fact targeted in terms of medical apartheid, in terms of eradication of a race. Our people are the main target. Dark nations, period, are the target of eradication, but Blacks, so-called Hispanics who think they not niggas, they as well. We are in fact the primary target of eradication, mentally, physically, medically, spiritually, in every way, in every spectrum, we are the main target. But since that's being introduced in the conversation, give me Revelation 6, verse 8, please. This history coincides with the history of the European race. If anyone has a contrary or counter argument to contest this, I would gladly love to hear your counter argument regarding this. Revelation, last book of the Bible, chapter 6, verse 8. Revelation 6, verse 8, please.
Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse.
Stop. Now, we were talking about how the Negroes and Native Americans were involved in how America got rich. Now, we both know, all of us who are educated in history know that America gained its wealth through stealing this land from the American or the Aboriginal indigenous people of this land, right? So Native Americans were in fact involved in this indoctrination or enslavement. Read verse 8 again.
And I looked, and behold, a pale horse.
Now, the Native Americans referred to the so-called white man who took this land from them as the pale face. They called them pale face because the Bible calls the white man or the European people, his man and his woman, the red or pale-faced nation. These horses that are written in Revelation are in reference to the European people. So read verse 8 again.
Edomite.
Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. And I looked.
Revelation is the last book of the Bible in reference to the most powerful people or race of people that are upon the face of the earth. There's no race of people that no one in this room can compare that has the same power or capacity of power to the European nations on the earth today that is in decline or decadence today. Verse 8 again.
And I looked, and behold, a pale horse.
So
and
this pale horse is the European race's people or history documented prophetically by the prophet John, a black man, a prophet who was a disciple of a black man who was lynched or hung on a cross, okay, known as the Black Messiah, Jesus the Christ, and his right-hand man or right-hand men, Peter, James, and John the Revelator. You verse 8 again, one more time, go ahead.
And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death.
So this pale horse is the history or track record of a race of people. Okay, and this horse carried upon him a rider, and this rider on this horse, this pale horse, his rider was Death. Right, so read on, continue.
And hell followed him.
Hell means perdition or corruption, meaning confusion. For example, same-sex marriage, marital division, gender division, confusion, political division, religious confusion, genetic confusion. It's all hell. Continue.
And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth.
The fourth part of the earth is America. America is referred to as the earth is divided into 4 continents. Okay, you have Africa, Asia, America, and another part. It's all referred to as Noah's sons. Noah's sons were Shem, Ham, Japheth. Europe, the Far East, Africa, and the West. America. Go ahead.
To kill with sword.
To kill with the sword of the conquistadors, the British troops. America. Go ahead.
And with hunger. And with death and with the beast of the earth.
Now, some of y'all who are unfamiliar with the Bible, this is the beast of the earth that goes into the dogs, the rats, the animals that were used to as weapons to kill the Native Americans on this land, and not only that, but to bring it up to modern speed. Modern times, you have what is called zoology. You have the COVID vaccine, the COVID virus was created by fetal matter as well as human fetal tissue combined to further infect the mass population of all the races. But the primary target of those races regarding the COVID vaccine, especially in the Americas, there's an article, look it up. It says, those who pay attention to the news, main ones who were affected by the COVID virus was Caucasians and Asians. Became a Native American, Hispanic, and Negro problem. They use fetal, animal, and fetal human tissue combined and HIV to increase the the potency of the vaccine of the not the vaccine of the virus to infect and to attack Negroes. I'll give you an example. Haiti, the president of Haiti was recently assassinated because he rejected, among many other African leaders of Africa in 2020, prior to this year of being killed for refusing the vaccination of this man-made militarized weapon of vaccine of virus. I was targeting dark races of people, primarily our people, blacks. Okay, well, my people, black,
Are
okay,
they
because I'm not in the room.
are they
So,
for depopulation or what reason?
huh?
For depopulation or just trying to kill us off for
All the above. Because blacks, of course, you don't know full well that the nation, the
Hell, I
powers
think
that
I
be
think
that.
this is irresponsible rhetoric, especially like speaking that you like all the shit that you were citing earlier about black people being predisposed to or like leading and weight and all these other shit.
Oh God,
So,
here we
no,
go.
I mean you don't listen. I'm just asking like you don't think this is dangerous rhetoric if these people like health is already compromised. You know what I'm saying? Like black people are affected disproportionately.
You said dangerous rhetoric. Dangerous to who?
To black people, like you essentially
How's it dangerous rhetoric?
because if black people, right, like so if black people tend to be more overweight or affected by diabetes, heart disease, that means that their health is already
No,
compromised.
I'm not referring to diabetes.
No,
I'm
no,
referring to COVID. I'm referring
listen,
to COVID,
I'm
not
talking about
diabetes.
I'm talking about having compromised health in its entirety, whatever shape, form, or fashion, whether it's diabetes,
You're not
asthma, whatever.
genetically
Hold on,
predisposed. You're not genetically predisposed to
listen. That's
diabetes.
not. I'm not.
You're
That's
not
not what I'm.
genetically
That's that. Listen.
predisposed.
That's fine. That's
Hold on,
not what I'm
hold on, hold on.
suggesting.
You did. You
You're getting caught up in
suggested.
semantics. My larger point remains the same.
You
My lar-
suggested. You
I don't want to get
suggested.
caught up. I don't want
You
to get caught up on
suggested.
it.
You suggested. You suggested that
You
black
don't. Can
people
I finish my
have a
thought?
propensity to be more overweight.
No,
That is
that's not
not
what I'm
the
suggesting
case.
at all. That's not what I'm
That's
suggesting
what
at
you
all.
said.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I've been pretty explicit in what it is that I'm saying. I'm not suggesting that they're predisposed to anything. I'm saying that you're saying that black people are leading in these categories, right? In heart disease,
No,
whatever, being overweight,
that's not what
what
I said at all.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's all I said.
You didn't.
You're putting you're trying to
That's fine.
no
I
no
don't
no
even
no
want to
no
get
no
caught up
no
in
no 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 no
semantics.
no no.
No,
That's all
because
I said.
my larger
That's
point
not what I
remains the
said.
same.
That's
Can I finish
not
my
what I
thought,
said.
please?
No, no, because
Sure. Go
you're
ahead.
being disruptive. You're being disruptive. That's all I said. I'm going back to Revelation 6 and 8 in regards to a race of people that have stop. I'm cut off. I'm not trying to make this a racial thing. What I'm saying is Revelation 6 and 8 is referring to a race of people who have weaponized these things, these animals, or scientifically to affect a certain people or a targeted people in this
Cool.
land.
You're countering a point that I'm not making now.
I'm not done. Perk, stop being niggerish.
But I
I'm not
wasn't
done.
done either though.
I'm not, stop being niggerish. I'm gonna mute you. Stop. I'm referring to Haiti, the president being killed, for rejecting it, and many other African leaders were being told that their lands, which were not vulnerable to this virus, this bullshit virus, they were rejecting these vaccines, which are bullshit again, that are doing more damage than good. Even European countries are suing these companies, big pharma, for a vaccine that's doing more damage than good. That's my point. I'm not sure how we went off the rails regarding this vaccine thing. My point is that the Bible is referring to a race of people, or this pale horse that brings hell and corruption wherever he goes, to contaminate or destroy people that are targeted. I'm not sure where I went off, but I know for a fact that even the race itself that are responsible for spreading this virus are opposed to the vaccination itself. I'm not talking about just black folks, but even the European race, Sweden, Spain, they're trying to contest the virus. The vaccines that are allegedly to help cure it are doing more damage than good. The Bible is substantiating the fact that this nation of people I'm referring to are in fact responsible for all the evil and lies and destruction and murder of races, whether it be black or any other race outside of that race. For the damaging of the earth, whether it be give me real quick.
All right, can I rebut? And I understand what your larger point is, but ingrained in that fabric, ingrained in that fabric is dangerous.
Okay, no. You're very scared. It's okay. You're scared.
No,
It's okay.
don't put that on me. We can have an adult conversation.
It frightens you for black folks to speak against the powers that be.
Okay, that's fine. Listen, people like it's grossly insensitive. People are dying. People have lost. I'm sure.
I don't care about insensitivity. I don't care about
I'm sure there are people who lost family members.
I don't care about insensitivity. I don't care about that. Give me Jeremiah real quick, 51:25. I don't care about that. I don't care about insensitivity. I care about Bible. That's what's called biblical smoke. I don't care about insensitivity. That's for effeminate and weak niggas. I don't care about that stuff. Jeremiah 51:25, real quick.
Jeremiah.
That's why.
Let me know when.
No, you can't. That's when it comes to black folks. The main leaders are comedians, clowns, rappers, effeminate rappers that wear dresses, and actors, because black folks are afraid and scared to speak up. I know you're afraid. It's okay.
None of this is applicable. Like you arguing straw man. You arguing points that I'm not making. I'm giving you shit that's empirically so. Anecdotal. You giving me.
Go ahead, E.
High under the bed. Just high under the bed. I know Pennywise the clown might scare you. We up here, Jeremiah 125.
Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain.
See, the problem is that our people have convinced themselves that America is going to last forever. See, I don't give a shit about America. I know a lot of you black folks on here who are afraid of the white man, and he's watching. Shh, be quiet. He's watching. I don't give a shit. So what I'm making it clear is that according to the Bible, America is that destroying mountain. America destroys people, whether it be black, any nation of people who are inferior politically, financially, philosophically, politically, he'll destroy. Primarily, the main target of that people he destroys is the children of Israel, who are the African diaspora, who are found in Haiti, South Africa, North Africa, all throughout the Americas, Negroes are found, and the target audience is that people. And so, my point is that America, the so-called white man, biblically, is that race that John the Revelator spoke of. John the Revelator spoke of as Babylon the Great. And he is that destroying mountain that destroys the earth, the water, the sea, the land, people, water, the earth, everything. He poisons the water with lead, the sky with atmospheric damage, philosophically, religiously, scientifically. He is a destroyer of people, regardless of race, creed, regardless, regardless. So black people who come on this platform tend to come on here and push this bullshit of being insensitive. I don't give a shit about about you being scared and effeminate and bitch made. I am not that man. Biblically speaking, he is that man. He is that race. Period. Undeniably, irrefutably. He is that destroying mountain. And according to prophecy, America, the nation that rules all nations and that runs shit, he is that burnt mountain prophesied biblically as Babylon the Great, the land of confusion, the land that tells you that there is gender fluidity, that there is same-sex bathrooms, that a man can feel he could be a woman can feel she could be a man. That is America. That is Edom, the so-called European man and his bitch. I'm going to tell you straight up, and his woman too. They are the progenitors. They are the founders of confusion. And I am not afraid to speak on that. You men who are on here that are afraid to say that shit, stay in the fucking audience. Stay in the box. Don't come on here talking nonsense.
I
This America is predestined
I
for
completely
nuclear
agree.
destruction, period. No, stop talking. America is found on that. America is predestined for nuclear destruction. That's what it is. That's what it is. So, give me Revelation also, a piece up for that. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. I'm sorry. That pissed me off. Go to Revelation as well, about destroying mountains as well. Destroy all the earth. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off.
Hey,
Not you. Not you. Not you. I'm sorry. Not you.
hey, E,
Yeah.
to back you up real quick, didn't Oppenheimer say, now I am become death,
Oh
the
yes, yes. William Oppenheimer said in Manhattan
world?
Project, "Behold, I am become death, destroyer of worlds." When he was helpful in the instrumental um um um
The atomic
weapon
bomb.
of nuclear fission, nuclear science. Him and Einstein, William Oppenheimer, the Manhattan Project, nuclear weapons were the instrumental weapon in helping solidify the Bible in a weapon that can in a weapon that can validate the prophecies that Habakkuk, Isaiah, and Daniel and Malachi and many others can substantiate a time in which the world will burn in vehement fire and nuclear heat. And Zechariah as well, destruction. Read that, please. You talking about Duka?
Yes, sir. Revelation chapter 11, verse 18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come,
The
and
reason
the
why,
time of the dead.
the reason why the nations are angry is because our people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and the African diaspora will eventually arise and come to the realization that we are the chosen people of God. Our people are found all over the world: Vietnam, Philippines, Hawaii, America, Africa, Russia, Germany. Our people are found all over the world. We are scattered. We are the diaspora that the Bible predestinates to be scattered all over the world. That we're going to eventually come to the realization that we are the God's chosen people. And once we come to that realization, we will eventually arise as a people, awaken, and bring forth the truth, regardless of the opposition or you bitch made Negroes or on the audience who are scared to say the shit I'm saying. Biblically, we're gonna wake up and realize that we are the chosen people of God, and we don't give a shit about the fear or the antagonizing of the enemy. We're gonna wake up and speak up regarding who we are according to the Bible, and speak against the enemies that be, the powers that be, despite any opposition or any consequence. Period. If you're not built for that, stay your black ass in the audience. You're tan, beige, white, whatever the ass your ass is, stay in the audience and be quiet. In the audience. Read it again, please.
Revelation 11, verse 18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead.
Nations are angry in thy wrath. The wrath is nuclear war, World War III. How do we know? China is against America. China is siding with Taliban. Taliban is in America right now. Russia hates America. China hates America. Korea hates America. And India are the IT techs, specialists that Russia is seeking to gain further nuclear advancements to further their cause in destroying America. Russia is 20 years more advanced than America in nuclear technology, and America is old. Biden is the symbolism of America. He is old, feeble, senile, sleep, and stupid and dumb. And so is his vice president bitch, fake nigga, Kamala Harris. Stop being stupid out here. She is too. So all the nations who have nuclear capability, they see the weakness of America and they don't give a shit. So you can sit around here and try to contest me and argue me all you want, but all the nations who are nuclear capable are seeing the weakness of America, and they're going to make her a burnt mountain, a nuclear burnt mountain. Read on.
And thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to thy saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth.
To destroy them which destroy the earth. When you examine the race of people that kill off lands, people, the atmosphere, the water, nations, there's one race that fit the credentials of doing these things. Africans don't destroy land, sea, air, nations, the earth. There's one people that are technologically advanced enough to do this. That is the so-called European race. If you deny this, take your coon, evil, simple, slave mastermind ass out the fucking platform and go in the audience. Because anyone who's real in this room knows the European man that fits this credential that destroys the earth, people, animals that go extinct. We know full well black folks to run around killing off American eagles, killer whales, and etc. We don't do that. We're afraid of water. We're afraid of animals. We don't do that. We don't create viruses. We don't go to foreign lands and tell lands what to do. Europeans do that. We don't sit there and create technology to make a man a woman a man. Black folks, Hispanic folks, Native Americans, we don't do that unless we are educated in the European sciences. We don't do that. So if you are going to sit up here and coon yourself in this room, please just get a shot glass and some Clorox. Drink that till you get sleepy. I'm going to tell you straight. We don't play that here. This is biblical smoke. If you're going to come in here with the smoke, I'm going to tell you straight. Just stop. You don't got time. If you're afraid, just sit in the audience. Go ahead. So, according to the Bible, the pale horse or the rider upon that pale horse is that nation. Give me Habakkuk 2 real quick. Habakkuk 2. So, coincide with that. Habakkuk 2. Habakkuk 2. The pale horse. I'm talking about Habakkuk.
Yes, sir. Book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 4.
I'm not making this a black and white thing. It's not a black and white thing. I'm a black man and I hate white folks. A white man hates black folks. No. He doesn't attack just black folks. He attacks all nations that he deems inferior. Okay? Watch this. Biblically, watch this. Read that.
Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him.
Why?
But
because this nation of people, I'm going to tell you straight. There's one nation of people and make it clear that I'm gonna tell you straight. When it comes, if America lasts 5 years, 10 years, it'll be taboo for a heterosexual to exist. Nigga, you're a female, you like penis? You weird. You're heterosexual, you like vaginas? You're weird. It's gonna be taboo for a man to like vagina. It's gonna be taboo for a female to like penis. I'm gonna tell you straight, because there's one race of people are pushing that. Read on. Confusion. Read on.
But the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine.
Hold on. The wine is the doctrine and the lies that he pushes through what? His politics, his philosophies, his media, his radio. Oh, he controls the airwaves. He controls all that. Read on.
He is a proud man.
He's a what?
He is a proud man.
Because there's no race on earth that will not marry his man or marry his woman. Indian, African, Arab, Negro, all races aspire or feel that they have ascended into excellence or respect unless they have married his woman or his man. Read on.
Neither keepeth at home.
He don't stay in his own land. There's an American embassy primarily throughout all the world, throughout all the lands. He don't stay at home. Read on.
Who enlargeth his desire as death.
He enlarges his desire as death. He spreads his corruption, his politics everywhere. He spreads his viruses everywhere. He spreads his religion everywhere. He spreads his philosophies everywhere. That's why you see Chinese folks walking around with three-piece suits. You'll see Arab women walking around pushing feminism when they're Muslim, with tight-ass pants on, with a head wrap on. He spreads his confusion all over the world. That's why the Taliban said, "Listen, man, you women, you ain't wearing no pants no more. You can wear a freaking dress." The Taliban told the women, "You can wear a dress." The Taliban, China passed a law recently saying there's no effeminacy allowed on their media. There's no effeminate men allowed in their media, or manly women allowed in their media, or individualism allowed in the media. Why? Because American democracy has made its way throughout all the world, spreading confusion, and these other nations are not having it. And now that Biden, that old, confused, senile white man, who's worse than Trump, and that fake nigga Kamala, have made their weakness known to all the nations who have nuclear capabilities. These nations are saying, "Listen, you know what? America ain't shit. We're gonna decide to put our values first. Not America, but our values first." Read on.
And is as death.
It is as death. What's the death? Religion, politics, his viruses, his germicidal warfare. It started off with their smallpox, their bubonic plague from not washing their ass in Britain, Spain, Portugal. Now they're using animal fetal tissue and human fetal tissue and merge them together to make the Ebola. That's man-made. AIDS, man-made. HIV, man-made. Space travel, man-made. And hurting the atmosphere, man-made. There's one race who is responsible for all the confusion, viruses killing thousands, vaccines behind these viruses killing thousands, who are focused on making blacks or people of color take this bullshit virus vaccines. Is one race, is the white man. And his own race is saying, "I'm the devil." Not only is the white man saying he's the devil, but the white man spreading the viruses. They know this. Is there more? You know?
And cannot be satisfied.
He cannot be satisfied. Why? Because he steals land, he steals people, he spreads viruses, he takes over the earth, he colonized the moon, now he wants freaking Mars. He is not satisfied. He steals people, he kills lands, he steals lands, He steals animals. He infects space. He infects people. He infects the water. He infects the land. God is a true God of the Bible. The Bible is a true book. Read on.
But gathereth unto him all nations, and
He gathers unto him all nations. Y'all call it America. It's called the Great Melting Pot, where he gathers unto himself all nations and indoctrinates all nations with his bullshit. Philosophies, politics, religion, science, all the above. Media, all the above. Read on.
and heapeth unto him all people.
All nations, go ahead.
Shall not all these take up a proverb against him? And as a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his.
Woe unto him that increaseth him, because America is not his. Australia, Europe is not his. Because the original inhabitants of Europe were black people. He stole that. America, he stole that. The land of Israel, God's land, he stole that. Africa, he's divided that and parted among himself. Belgium, France, Britain, Russia, they stole that too. Woe unto him means destruction and despair unto him that takes that doesn't belong to him. Read on.
How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay.
The thick clay is the other nations, the melting pot. Read on.
Shall not they rise up suddenly, and shall bite thee, and awake, that shall vex thee, and
Now,
thou
those
shalt...
of y'all who pay attention to the news, Britain left the European Union. The European Union is 10 other European nations, as well as America, who do not agree with America's policies, philosophies, politics, war tactics. Eventually, according to prophecy, these nations will turn against America and blow her ass up. Britain left already. It's called Brexit. Research it. These nations are starting to see that America ain't shit. China's seeing it. China's seeing it. Taliban seeing it. Russia's seeing it. The Arabs are seeing it. So those of y'all who have your head in your ass, you're gonna die here in America. America is on borrowed time. Read on.
And thou shalt be for booties unto them.
You shall be robbed and enslaved and you shall lose your wealth. Read on.
Because thou hast spoiled many nations.
You have spoiled, you have robbed the resources of the people, the lands, the courtesy of many nations. China, Iran, Iraq, the Philippines, Vietnam, Africa. The so-called white man has come across these nations and has robbed, extorted, and exploited nations all over the world, throughout the freaking world, throughout time. Read on.
All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee.
And the nations who have seen this and acknowledged this, who aren't stupid ass niggas in the room or the audience, have acknowledged this will rob you as you have robbed them. Read on.
Because of men's blood.
Because
and
of
for
men's blood being nations' blood. Read on.
And for the violence of the land.
And for the violence of your land. Read on.
And for the city, and for all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house.
An evil covetousness means an evil desire to stealing things that do not belong to you, like a race, like a culture, like being a Jew, stealing a nationality, being a Native American. Oh, I'm Native American when you're freaking white. Being a Jew when you're white. When the original Native Americans were Israelites, the original Christians were Negro Israelites, the original Native Americans were Israelites. You steal their identity. You rob and you lie, you steal, and you push it and you exploit and extort through religion. Read on.
That he may set his nest on high.
How's nest on high going to what? Their technology, their science, their moon, their satellites, their space force. They set their nest on high because men like John Bezos, men like the Virgin Records owner, men like what's his name? That's freaking what's his name? What's his name?
Huh?
Elon Musk. Elon Musk.
Who?
Elon Musk.
Elon, thank you. Elon Musk, Bezos, the Virgin Records owner. These guys are trying to escape the inevitable. They know, unlike you simple coons on here, know that America is on borrowed time. They've been going to Mars. They're trying to go to Jupiter. They colonized the moon. The moon don't belong to them. They colonized Mars. Mars don't belong to them. They colonized Africa. Africa don't belong to them. They colonized Australia. Australia don't belong to them. Hawaii don't belong to them. Israel, Africa don't belong to them. Read on.
That he may be delivered from the power of evil.
The power of evil is the Lord's return. The black Messiah, who the white man, with the help of dumb, weak ass, scared niggas that were online, who helped lynch him on a cross. That same black Messiah who was lynched thousands of years ago, like his children, who were lynched all throughout the Americas, throughout North, South, and Central America, who were lynched and hung. That same black Messiah will return and bring forth vengeance and death and judgment to the same wicked niggas and heathen who are responsible for his death. He will bring forth destruction to them wherever they're at. The moon, Saturn, Mars, wherever the hell they're at. He's going to judge them. So those of you who are afraid to speak up as men on this platform, stay your weak, black, tan, beige asses in the audience and let real men speak up according to the Bible. We are in biblical smoke. In my mind.
Bring it out, sir.
Well, dude, there you have it. We appreciate everybody for the night. We want to thank everybody for their participation. E has brought the fire. You can email us at biblicalsmoke@gmail.com if any of y'all have any questions or concerns. Let the stage die down from the fire and flames real quick. Does anybody have any last words before we get that Thanos snap out of here?
I just wanted to say the school system too. You know what I mean? They got rich off the school system.
Yep. All right. That being said, we appreciate everybody. See your Lord's will tomorrow. Thanos snap.
Boom.